The ship called freedom still rides the tide, and 47's the captain when the liars die.
I've got some pretty shocking news for you today. And I know this is going to absolutely blow your mind. You know, I've been following this story, and honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Oh my goodness, Ryan. You're talking about Biden's pardons, aren't you? Like, I've been digging into this all week, and I just can't believe the scale of what we're seeing here.
That's exactly it. Welcome everyone to another episode of Disruptarian Radio, where we're diving into what might be one of the most controversial moves by any president in recent history.
Yeah, and you know what's really wild? We're talking about President Biden literally using his final hours in office to basically hand out pardons like they were party favors. I mean, the numbers we're looking at they're absolutely staggering.
And it's not just the numbers that are shocking, it's who got these pardons. We're talking about family members, high-ranking officials, and some really controversial figures here.
Right, and the timing of it all. Like, literally waiting until the last possible moment. I mean, there's so much to unpack here, and we're going to break it all down for our listeners today.
So, let me hit you with these numbers because, they're absolutely mind-blowing. We're talking about 8,064 pardons. That's not a typo. That's the actual number.
Oh my. Like, I had to double and triple check that number when I first saw it because, it seems completely unreal. And when you compare it to other presidents, it's just astronomical.
Let's put this in perspective. Looking at recent presidents, George W. Bush issued about 200 pardons during his entire presidency. Obama, he did around 1,927.
And even Trump, who people criticized for his use of pardons. He only issued like 1,737 pardons, but Biden just completely shattered all these records.
The thing that really gets me is how this completely changes the whole landscape of presidential pardons. I mean, we're talking about more than 4 times the combined total of his 3 predecessors.
You know what's really striking to me, Ryan? It's not just the sheer number, it's the systematic nature of it. Like, this wasn't just random clemency. This feels like a calculated move to shield specific groups of people.
Exactly. And when you look at the pattern of who received these pardons, it starts to paint a pretty concerning picture. We're talking about an unprecedented use of presidential power here.
And the thing is, these aren't just numbers on a page. Each one of these pardons represents, someone who's basically being given a clean slate, regardless of what they might have done.
Now let's dive into some of the really notable figures who received these pardons. I mean, we're talking about some seriously high-profile individuals here, starting with Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Oh yeah, and that's particularly interesting because, Fauci hadn't even been charged with anything when he received this pardon. It's almost like they were anticipating something, right?
That's exactly what makes this so unusual. We've got preemptive pardons for people like Fauci, and then there's General Mark Milley, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who was also facing some pretty intense scrutiny.
And don't forget about the entire January 6th committee members, like all of them, including, people like Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff. The whole thing just feels very calculated.
The timing is what really stands out to me here. These pardons came in the final hours of Biden's presidency, almost like a last-minute insurance policy.
You know what's really striking to me? It's that, these aren't just random government officials. These are specifically people who've been major targets of Trump's criticism. And with Trump coming back into office, it's pretty clear what Biden was trying to do here.
The implications are pretty serious when you think about it. We're essentially looking at a president using pardons as a shield to protect political allies from potential future investigations.
Right, and what's really concerning is that this kind of creates this precedent where presidential pardons become like this political weapon. Like, you protect your team before the other side can come after them.
But here's where things get even more controversial. Biden didn't stop at pardoning political allies. He actually went ahead and pardoned several family members, which is pretty unprecedented.
Oh my gosh, yes. And this is where it gets really interesting because, we're talking about his brother James and his wife Sarah, his sister Valerie, her husband John Owens, and even his brother Francis. Like the whole Biden family tree basically got pardons.
The thing that really stands out to me is the Hunter Biden situation. I mean, Biden explicitly promised multiple times that he wouldn't interfere with his son's legal troubles.
Yeah, and I remember him saying specifically in 2023, my son will face whatever the legal system decides. But then, here we are.
It's particularly striking because Hunter had already been convicted on those gun charges and had pleaded guilty to federal tax evasion. This wasn't just some hypothetical situation.
And what's really concerning about this whole thing is that it kind of shows this complete reversal of Biden's previous stance. Like he went from no one is above the law to basically putting his family above the law.
The timing of these family pardons also raises some serious questions. These weren't decisions made after careful deliberation over years. These were last-minute pardons issued in the final hours of his presidency.
Right. And when you look at it in context with everything else, like these weren't just isolated pardons. They were part of this massive wave of clemency that included political allies, family members, and basically anyone who might face scrutiny from the incoming administration.
When we look at these pardons more broadly, I can't help but think about the pretty serious precedent this sets for future presidents.
Oh, absolutely. And what really strikes me is how this could fundamentally change the way presidents use their pardon power going forward. Like, we're not just talking about small-scale clemency anymore. We're talking about using pardons as this kind of protective shield for an entire administration.
The numbers really tell the story here. I mean, 8,064 pardons. That's not just breaking records. That's absolutely shattering them. When you compare that to previous presidents, Bush with 200, Obama with 1,927, Trump with 1,737, it's just, it's staggering.
And what's really concerning is that this creates this sort of blueprint, right? Like, future presidents might look at this and think, if Biden could do it, so can I. You know what I mean?
The implications for executive power are pretty significant, too. We're essentially looking at a situation where a president can protect not just themselves, but their entire circle from any future legal consequences.
Right, and it's not just about the number of pardons or who got them. It's about this whole idea that you can basically run an administration knowing that in the end, you can just wipe the slate clean for everyone involved.
This really challenges our whole concept of accountability in government. If every administration can just pardon their way out of consequences, what does that mean for checks and balances?
Exactly. And it's like we're setting up this system where the last few months of every presidency could just become this giant pardon spree. Like, it completely changes the dynamics of presidential power, don't you think?
The public response to these pardons has been, it's been absolutely explosive, to put it mildly. I'm seeing reactions across the entire political spectrum, and they're pretty intense.
Oh, yeah, and what's really fascinating is how divided these responses are. Like, Biden's supporters are trying to frame this as this protective measure, right? They're saying it's about shielding public servants from potential political persecution.
I've noticed that too. They're particularly focused on the pardons for Dr. Fauci and the January 6th committee members, claiming these individuals needed protection from future politically motivated investigations.
Right. And then on the other side, you've got critics who are just absolutely furious. They're saying this is like the biggest abuse of presidential power they've ever seen. And what's really interesting is that it's not just Republicans who are upset.
That's a crucial point. We're seeing criticism from legal scholars, ethics experts, and even some traditional Democratic allies who are really troubled by the scope of these pardons.
Yeah, and what's really striking is how many people are focusing on that whole family angle. Like the fact that he pardoned Hunter Biden after specifically promising not to. That's really hit a nerve with a lot of people.
The timing of it all has also drawn significant criticism. Many are viewing these last-minute pardons as a sort of, well, a desperate attempt to protect allies before leaving office.
Absolutely. And you know what's really interesting? Some people are actually saying that this might end up damaging Biden's legacy even more than the actual controversies these pardons were meant to address. Like the cover-up becoming bigger than the crime. You know what I mean?
You know, looking at the bigger picture here, I think we're seeing something that's going to have implications for years, maybe even decades to come. The precedent that's been set with these pardons is, well, it's pretty concerning.
Yeah, and what really strikes me is how this might fundamentally change the way future presidents use their pardon power. Like, we're talking about over 8,000 pardons here, which is it's just absolutely unprecedented.
The thing that keeps coming back to me is how this affects our system of checks and balances. When a president can essentially, well, create this kind of protective bubble around family members and political allies, it really challenges our whole concept of accountability.
Exactly. And you know what's really troubling? It's like we might be seeing the beginning of a new normal where presidents just assume they can shield themselves and their inner circle from any consequences. That's pretty scary for democracy, right?
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Disruptarian Radio. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into what's surely going to be one of the most discussed political events of 2025.
Yes, and thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with more analysis of the stories that really matter. Until then, keep questioning, keep thinking, and keep disrupting the narrative.
On a sub note, we at Disruptarian Radio wish to thank you for your participation and support while we rebuild our media network. Now we have been unshackled by the recent decade of censorship and shadow banning, we are optimistic that we can rebuild this media network to its former glory and beyond. While we rebuild, we are using virtual voice actos, and we look forward to hosting guests in real life. Meanwhile, we look forward to chatting with you at our guest chat at disruptarian.com. Cheers.
This is your reggae machine! Hot reggae music!
Okay. And I don't know the name of this song, but it's dedicated to all my skinhead friends. And it's called Skinhead! Yeah.
Selector, pull up the tune! And forward again!
When the skinhead walks down the street, every chick hop skips a beat. When the skinhead walks down the street, every chick hop skips a beat. Skinhead! Skinhead!
This is your number one champion station! Kick it off like a ball! Exclusive, old school, new school, and everything in between.
Met her in Cebu City on a hot December night. Dark brown eyes, yeah, shining so bright. Took one look, saw a crease off by her side. I was doomed, cause she hit me with a smile like a typhoon boom. But she said, you ain't got no bond me flow. Better learn to eat bagoong, don't say no. Took me to the Turo spot, man. Now I'm sweating from the spice, begging for a fan. Ooh, she's got me lost in translation. Love is sweet but full of complication. I say, Mahakita, she just laughs at me. Guess love's a game in the Philippines. steady job. Tito said, no tattoos, you look like a slob. But her Lola just winked, said give him a chance. Now we're dancing in the streets, baby Dylan on the way in a reggae trance. But she said no more red horse, you drink too much, and if you flirt with another, better pack it up. Man, she rules like a queen, got me walking in line. But her love hits deep like an old drop rhyme. Ooh, she's got me lost in translation. Love is sweet but full of complication. I say, Mahonky, she just laughs at me. I guess love's a game in the Philippines. Between paradise and pain, one day she's fire, next she's cool like rain. She calls me Langa, then she walks away, but she always comes back, so I guess I'll stay. So I'll learn to eat balut, yeah, I'll take the dare, even if it means she's still laughing there. Foreign heart in a local scene, but damn, I love my Philippine queen.
The country to a foreign queen. 8064 set loose on the shore, while the honest folk toil evermore. Heave ho, lads, the ship's going down. The king's in his castle, but he sold the crown. Bound to the east, our fate is sealed. Traded our rights for a sack of steel. Took land while we break our backs at his cruel command. The debt runs deep, the lies run wide, with a storm on the bow and nowhere to hide. Heave ho, lads, the ship's going down. The king's in his castle, but he sold the crown. Bound to the east, our fate is sealed. Traded our rights for a sack of steel. Heave ho, lads, the ship's going down. The king's in his castle, but he sold the crown. Bound to the east, our fate is sealed. Traded our rights for a sack of steel. The wind howls loud, the sea turns red, while the captain laughs and fills his bed. Justice sank, lost to the tide, with a broken compass and a king who lied. So grab your ropes and man the mast. The kingdom's gone, the die is cast. If we don't fight, if we don't stand, we'll all be slaves to a plundered land. Castle, but he sold the crown. Bound to the east, our fate is sealed. Traded our rights for a sack of steel. Ukraine got gold, China took land, while we break our backs at his cruel command. The debt runs deep, the lies run wide, with a storm on the bow and nowhere to hide. Going down, the king's in his his castle, but he sold the crown. Bound to the east, our fate is sealed. Traded our rights for a sack of steel. Heave-ho, lads, the ship's going down. The king's in his castle, but he sold the crown. Bound to the east, our fate is sealed. Traded our rights for a sack of steel.
Story of a man that the swamp came to fear. They tried to erase him, they lied through their teeth, but truth moves like thunder, and justice runs deep. Bullets flew wild in that cold BC night. Swinders all hissed, but he stood up to fight. 2 months in the game and he flipped the whole board. Now watch as the elites meet their judgment. Oh Lord! Hey ho! Watch him go through the lies and the lead. Yeah, he walked through the snow. They took every swing, but the people still sting for the outlaw king. The Menace Whale and the Transformers 2. Creepy old Joe with his bankrupt crew. They cheated in shadows, they rigged up the game, but the harder they pushed, the harder he came. Oh, the tide turns when the U-wave rise. No more kneeling for the globalist lies. The ballots got counted, the fraud was too plain. Now justice rolls in like a Cat 5 Harvard train. Hey, hey, ho, here we go. Red, white, and blue in the firefights glow. The throne they denied, he took it with pride, and the 47 sails with the tide. So pour out the whiskey for the man unafraid of the liars, the snakes, or the shots that they sprayed. The swamp still may writhe, but the dragon's awake. Now Wudge, coming for keeps.
Not all who wander are lost, ye know. Ho, me hearties, heave ho! The wanderer's heart knows where to go. From Plymouth docks we set our sails in the United Kingdom, where we tell old tales of King Arthur's sword and London's great fire. Then north to Scotland for whiskey by the Prior. Heave ho, me hearties, heave ho! Not all who wander are lost, ye know. Heave ho, me hearties, heave ho! The wanderer's heart knows where to go. To Wales we sailed, where dragons roam, where men sing in valleys they call their home. Then cross the sea to Ireland green, where pints of stout flow like a stream. Heave ho, me hearties, heave ho! Not all who wander are lost, ye know. Heave ho, me hearties, heave ho! The wanderer's heart knows where to go. The Netherlands with windmills tall, their tulips bloom from spring to fall. To Belgium next for chocolate sweet, and battlefields where armies meet. Heave ho, me hearties, heave ho! Not all who wander are lost, ye know. Heave ho, me hearties, heave ho! The wanderer's heart knows where to go. to Puerto Rico, where the fortress stands and warm winds blow, to Mexico for Day of the Dead, with sugar skulls and souls well fed. Hey-ho, me hearties, hey-ho, not all who wander are lost, ye know. Hey-ho, me hearties, hey-ho, the wanderer's heart knows where to go. In Cuba streets the old cars gleam, as music sways and dancers dream. Hawaii's volcanoes touch the sky, as surfers on the big waves fly. Hey-ho, me hearties, hey-ho, not all who wander are lost, ye know. Hey-ho, me hearties, hey-ho, the wanderer's heart knows where to go. The sea to Japan's shore, where cherry blossoms we adore. South Korea with temples old, and kimchi spice to warm the cold. The wanderer's heart knows where to go. The Philippines with islands bright, where mango's sweet in every bite, to Canada's mountains capped with snow, where maple syrup starts to flow.
You smiled in my face, turned around, gave me disgrace. Thought you were my friend, but it was just pretend. You walked away like a ghost, now you're the one I trust the least. No redemption, no goodbye, you're a memory left to die. Trail worse than death, you took my love, my breath. Now you're gone to me, just a shadow, can't you see? Some things can be forgave, but your actions like a wave wash away all that we knew. Leaves a pain that's cruel and true, keeping secrets for so long. Every word felt so wrong, lost in lies I couldn't see. No more chains, you set me free. You walked away like a ghost, now you're the one I trust. Believe no news, you walked away like a ghost. And death, you took my love, my breath. Now you're gone to me, just a shadow, can't you see?
And the storms took flight. Love turned to war in the dead of night. Oh, it's a battle of hearts, a fight for our souls. Love's a sweet song, but it takes its toll. Through the tears and the pain, we try to hold on. In the war of our love, will we find the dawn? Whispers of love now, echoes of doubt. Promises made, but we're screaming now. Once we were allies, now foes in disguise. Lost in the chaos with no compromise. Oh, it's a battle of hearts, a fight for our souls. Love's a sweet song, but it takes its toll. Through the tears and the pain, we try to hold on. In the war of our love, will we find the dawn? Whispers of love now, echoes of doubt. Promises made, but we're screaming out. Once we were allies, now foes in disguise. Lost in the chaos with no compromise. Oh, it's a battle of hearts, a fight for our souls. Love's a sweet song, but it takes its every heartbeat, I'll fight for you. Together we'll rise through the ashes and pain. In this dance of love, we'll break every chain. Oh, it's a battle of hearts, a fight for our souls. Love's a sweet song, but it takes its toll. Through the tears and the pain, we try to hold on. In the war of our love, will we find the dawn? Yeah, in the war of our love, we'll rise with the dawn. Hand in hand forever, we'll carry on. With reggae vibes, we'll heal and be free. In this beautiful struggle, just you and me.
We set sail on a bright blue morn, packed our bags and we blew the horn. With a pocket full of dreams and a world to see, but we lost our way on the endless sea. No one knows where we're meant to be. From London town to the streets of Rome, down to Rio where the wild winds roam. Climbed up high to the peak so steep, but the way back home, well, it's buried deep. Oh, where's the map? Oh, where's the map? Round the world, but someone lost it in the wind. So hoist the sails and take my hand. We'll find our way across the land. Lost or found, we're moving fast. No map needed, make the moment last. Let track drums and bass drop, stop and beat kicks in. Camels where the deserts glow, danced all night in the streets of Tokyo. Saw the northern lights where the ice winds bide, but we lost our way in the dead of night. Oh, where's the map? Oh, where's the map? Laughed out loud and carried on, 'cause lost or not, we're never. So hoist the sails and take my hand. We'll find our way across the land. Lost or found, we're moving fast. No map needed, make the moment last. Oh, where's the map? Oh, don't look back.
Technology got the gift, yeah. SEO and social, good vibes flow. Find us at spunwebtechnology.com, yo. Rank higher on the Google scene. Spun Web Tech will get you seen. Social media buzz like a bumblebee. Come to us, we'll set you free. Spun Web Technology, whoa, whoa, whoa. Making your business grow and glow. Spun Web Technology, hey, hey. Log on now, don't delay. Better clicks and traffic rising. Spun Web keeps you mesmerizing. Online presence bold and true. Contact us, we'll guide you through. Your brand's about to shine so bright with Spun Web by your side. Day and night, from SEO to social. special way. SpawnWebTechnology.com is where you'll stay. Spawn Web Technology, whoa, whoa, making your business grow and glow. Spawn Web Technology, hey, hey, log on now, don't delay. Technology, whoa, whoa, making your business grow and glow. Spawn Web Technology, hey, hey, log on now, don't delay. Log on now, don't delay.
Yeah, me said them can't kill my soul. Just I mama step on the righteous road. But I fear no man, I fear only Jah. This up the darkness, me arise like star. Fear not the one who can kill the flesh. Them can't touch the soul. The spirit stay fresh. Jah above all, my answer this call. Them try bring me down, but me stand tall. You can't break me, you can't shake me. But walk with Jah, you can't forsake me. Fear not the body, when no Jah plan was so safe in the Father's hand. Them want to test me, no bow, me no run. Jah power in a me nah fear none. Them dark, them black, but me nah back down. Them a wolves, but me wear righteousness crown. Them can't see what me carry inside. Jah wisdom deep, me nah go hide. Me say them call my name, them try for slay, but just stand firm, guide me every day. Fear not the one who can kill the flesh. Them can't touch the soul. The spirit stay fresh. Jah above all, my answer is call. Them try bring me down, but me stand tall. You can't break me, you can't shake me. But walk with Jah, you can't forsake me. Fear not the body, when no Jah plan was so safe in the Father's hand. Me hear them call me mad for the truth me defend, but me say Jah protect till the very end. Them fight me in the streets, but me no afraid. The spirit strong, shall word me a spread. Them chase after gold, them chase after fame, but we say my soul not play them game. Walk on the light, me rise above. Fear not the wicked, me covered by love. Them try to take me down, but me still rise. Jah over wisdom, open my eyes. The kingdom of heaven, I'm a final home. Me no fear the wicked when me walk alone. Fear not the one who can kill the flesh. Them can't touch the soul. The spirit stay fresh. Jah above all, my answer is call. Them try bring me down, but me stand tall. You can't break me, you can't shake me. But walk with Jah, you can't forsake me. Fear not the body, when no Jah plan was so safe in the Father's hand. Jah light shine bright through the darkest night. Them can't dim my soul, them can't take my sight. So me walk with the Father, me rise and me fight. Fear not the body, my soul take flight.
Where the ancients tread, a story of the Hittites rises from the dead. With a tablet of clay inscribed in the sand, it speaks of wisdom, a culture so grand. Disruptive voices from the past we hear, echoing truths that the world holds dear. Disruptarian vibes breaking through the night, ancient wisdom shining bright. They had the words, a system to write, a social structure built with might. in clay, their voices aren't dead. Disruptive voices from the past we hear, echoing truths that the world holds dear. Disruptarian vibes breaking through the night, ancient wisdom shining bright. Oh, the Hittites knew how to thrive, their culture and rhythm still alive, in every symbol, in every line. A lesson to learn, a treasure to find. From ruins and relics, their truth ascends, a tale of a people who shaped their friends. Beyond their borders, their culture grew, a disruptive force that the world still knew. Disruptive voices from the past we hear, echoing truths that the world holds dear. Disruptarian vibes breaking through the night, ancient wisdom shining bright. So let the rhythms of the ancients play, guiding our steps, lightening our way. Disruptive truths in the roots we find, a disruptarian call to free the mind. So let the rhythms of the ancients play, guiding our steps, lighting our way.
Truth I the warrior, me nah go lose integrity and me shall stand up for your truth. They must smile up in your face, but me feel the fleet. Me can't sit dead shift when the pattern break. Camouflage from me, heart full of hate. Them a ride the wave, but the love them shake. Them a talk real loud, but my spirit them fear. When you walk in truth, your sight come clear. Me a follow your light, me nah switch gears. Integrity I lead, me nah bow for cheers. True heart, true mind, stand tall in the light. No bend, no break, me nah stray for height. Truth and integrity, them a me guide. Watch for the ones who are run and hide. Faith friend disguise, me see them plot, but me hold strong, them can't reach my spot. Truth and integrity, me nah let go. Them frenemies a come, but my spirit though.
Look how them move, look how them scheme. Say them with you, but them change like dreams. Them take you for food, them a twist your scene. But we see through the haze, me not fall for the green. Them a shape shift fast, tryna blend in tight. But the truth still flashing at every line. Me walk conscious, roots deep, roots high. Integrity me guide, till the day me fly.
True heart, true mind, stand tall in the light. No bend, no break, me not stray for height. Truth and integrity, them a me guide. Watch for the ones who are run and hide. Faith friend disguise, me see them plot, but me hold strong, them can't reach my spot. Truth and integrity, me not let go. Them frenemies a come, but my spirit low. Look how them move, look how them scheme. Say them with you, but them change like dream. Them take you for fool, them a twist your scene. But me see through the haze, me now fall for the gleam. Them a shape shift fast, tryna blend in tight. But the truth still flashing at every line. Me walk conscious, roots deep, roots high. Integrity me guide, till the day me fly. True heart, true mind, stand tall in the light. No bend, no break, me not stray for height. Truth and integrity, them a me guide. Watch for the ones who are run and hide. Faith friend disguise, me see them plot, but me hold strong, them can't reach my spot. Truth and integrity, me not let go. Them frenemies a come, but my spirit though.
You can't hide for long when the truth stand tall. Them a try sneak round, but we rise when them fall. No heart clean, my soul never starve. And at the battlefield of lies, no answer the call. Integrity my weapon, Jah light me guide. No matter how them shift, me not slide.
Try sneak round, but my rise when them fall. My heart clean, my soul never stalling. At the battlefield of life, me answer the call. Integrity my weapon, Jah light my guide. No matter how them shift, me not slide.
I got something very personal and perhaps very relatable to some of our listeners today on Disruptarian Radio. This is a topic that's, well, it's been close to my heart for years now, but I haven't always had the courage to talk about it openly.
Oh, I think this is going to be really important for people to hear, Ryan. You know, these personal stories are often the ones that help others the most, right?
Yeah, exactly. Today we're diving into my personal journey through what's called parental alienation, which is actually the subject of my new ebook, Truth, Integrity, and Fatherhood, A Life Examined. It's essentially, well, it's the documentation of what happens when one parent systematically works to damage a child's relationship with the other parent.
Man, this hits close to home. As someone who's been through the family court system myself, I know just how devastating this can be.
And that's why I wanted to have both of you here for this conversation. It's not an easy topic, but it's one that affects so many families in silence, and I think it's time to, bring it into the light a bit more and maybe help others who are experiencing the same thing feel less alone in all of this. So my experience with parental alienation, it really started to become clear back in 2015. But the warning signs, they were there much earlier. During some of our arguments, my ex-wife would actually say things like, "I'll turn the kids against you if you divorce me." At the time, I didn't fully grasp just how serious that threat was,
God, that's such a clear red flag when you look back at it now, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's why in May 2015, I created this online group dedicated to documenting cases of parental alienation. It wasn't just like some random interest I had. It was because I was starting to get really, really worried that what she had been threatening might actually become reality.
So you were basically preparing for what you feared might happen?
Yeah, exactly that. I was still holding on to hope that we could fix things, that our marriage could get back to where it once was. But at the same time, something in me just knew I needed to understand this phenomenon better and connect with others going through it.
What happened then? Like, how did things progress from there?
So between 2014 and 2020, I actually filed for divorce 3 times. First in Idaho, then twice in Hawaii. It was this long, drawn-out process that finally completed in February 2020. During that period, my son actually moved with me to Seattle for about 4 months, but then, well, the pandemic hit and everything changed.
3 times? That must have been incredibly draining, both emotionally and financially.
It was exhausting. Each time I filed, there would be this period where we'd try to reconcile, But the same patterns kept emerging. The threats about the kids became more frequent, and I started noticing subtle ways she was positioning herself as the victim to friends and family, creating this narrative where I was somehow the bad guy.
That sounds like such a slow-burning trauma. You know what I mean? Like this gradual realization that something terrible is happening, but you can't quite stop it?
That's exactly what it felt like. A slow-burning trauma. There were good days where I'd think, maybe I'm overreacting. And then there would be these moments where it became crystal clear that this was a deliberate campaign. And the most painful part was watching my relationship with my kids start to change in ways I couldn't control.
So, Ryan, looking back now, what would you say were the early warning signs of parental alienation that maybe others might miss in their own relationships? Like, apart from the direct threats your ex made, Were there more subtle signs?
Yeah, great question, Sarsa. I think beyond the obvious threats, there were these subtle patterns that I didn't fully recognize at the time. You know, things like my ex would question my parenting decisions in front of the kids, or she'd make these little comments like, "Daddy's too busy to help with homework," when I was actually working to support the family. And she'd sometimes interrupt when I was disciplining the children, you know, undermining my authority in these small ways.
I noticed similar things in my situation. The ex would call the kids during my time with them and ask if they were okay, as if they might not be safe with me.
Exactly that, Rick. There was this constant undertone of doubt being planted. Another thing I noticed was how she'd reframe my normal interactions with the kids. Like if I couldn't attend a school event because of work, instead of explaining the reality, she'd tell them, "Daddy chose not to come," as if it was like a preference rather than a necessity.
God, that's so insidious. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the kind of thing that in isolation doesn't seem that bad, but when it's part of a pattern.
That's exactly it. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And looking back, I wish I'd documented everything from the very beginning. Every threat, every undermining comment, every time the narrative about me changed. Because when you're in it, you doubt yourself. You think, am I just being paranoid? But your gut knows something's wrong.
In terms of what you could have done differently, is there anything specific you wish you'd known, or actions you wish you'd taken earlier?
I wish I'd been more direct with the children about what was happening, in age-appropriate ways, of course. I was so focused on being the bigger person and not dragging them into adult issues that I didn't provide them with the tools to recognize manipulation. I also wish I'd gotten into therapy sooner, both for myself and requested it for the kids. Having that neutral third party can be incredibly valuable.
Did you ever confront your ex directly about what she was doing?
I tried a few times, but it usually resulted in more hostility and accusations that I was the one trying to alienate the children from her. It's this bizarre mirror effect that happens. The alienating parent often accuses the targeted parent of exactly what they themselves are doing. That's one of the warning signs right there, when you're constantly being accused of things you're not doing.
That's such a good point about the projection. What about when it comes to communication? Were there changes there that might have been red flags?
Absolutely. When co-parenting communication becomes weaponized, that's a huge red flag. Suddenly every text or email becomes evidence they're collecting against you, or they might, start insisting on using a co-parenting app for documentation when previously normal communication was fine. It's like they're building a case rather than co-parenting. So there was this critical moment, right, where I realized this wasn't just normal post-divorce tension, but actual parental alienation happening in real time. It was when I discovered that my ex-wife had started painting this completely distorted picture of me to our mutual friends.
What kind of things was she saying?
Well, despite me being really involved as a dad, changing countless diapers, feeding the kids, working from home to be present, maintaining multiple jobs to keep us financially stable, she suddenly started characterizing me as misogynistic and uninvolved in household responsibilities. And that was personally hurtful, but what really cemented my decision to finally go through with the divorce was when she began attributing similar attitudes to our son.
Wait, she was saying your son was misogynistic too?
Yeah, exactly. She claimed he had refused to clean his room and allegedly said he didn't have to because he had sisters. And when I questioned my son about this, he completely denied saying it. And knowing my son's character, he's always been honest, diplomatic, able to see multiple perspectives. I believed him. I knew that wasn't him.
So she was essentially putting words in his mouth then? That's really disturbing,
Exactly. What I think probably happened was just a typical teenage moment, Maybe he said something like, "No, how about my sisters do it? I'm busy," which, let's be honest, is just normal sibling stuff. But she took that and reframed it as evidence that he was developing misogyny and that he was learning it from me.
That's the insidious nature of parental alienation right there. Taking completely normal childhood behaviours and recontextualising them to fit a narrative that serves the alienating parent's goals.
Absolutely, Rick. And what made it so clear to me was that this wasn't just about her being angry with me anymore. She was actively working to reshape how our children viewed themselves and their relationship with me. It was like watching someone rewrite reality in real time.
That must have been absolutely devastating to witness. Was there a particular moment where you just thought, oh my God, this is really happening?
Yeah, there was this dinner we had shortly before I filed for divorce the last time. My son had mentioned something positive about a day we'd spent together, and I watched her face just change. And after he left the room, she made this comment about how I was manipulating him by being the fun parent. And I realized then that any positive interaction between me and my children was going to be recast as something sinister.
I've been there, man. In my case, when my kids would come home excited about something we'd done together, suddenly they'd have new memories about how they were actually scared or uncomfortable during our time together. It's like their experiences were being retroactively edited.
Yes, that's exactly it. And it's so subtle that the kids don't even realize it's happening to them. But you can see it unfolding, and it's like watching a slow-motion car crash that you can't stop.
So, I think I can offer some, perspective here that might help, especially about the family court system. In my case, when my ex-wife filed for full custody, I was absolutely terrified, right? The system often feels like it's stacked against fathers from the start.
How did you approach it? Because I felt completely blindsided when I entered that system.
Well, unlike you, Ryan, I actually went in expecting the worst, which, in a weird way, helped me prepare better. The first thing I did was document absolutely everything. And I mean everything. Text messages, emails, cancelled visits, times when she wouldn't let me speak to the kids on the phone. I created this, massive timeline with evidence for each incident.
That's really smart, actually. Did you have a good solicitor as well?
Yeah, that was key. I didn't just get any attorney. I specifically found one who had experience with parental alienation cases. That made a huge difference because they knew exactly what to look for and how to present it to the judge. They weren't learning about alienation tactics on my dime. You know what I mean?
That's actually something I wish I'd done differently. My first attorney seemed to think this was just a standard divorce situation.
Exactly. And it's not. It's so not. Another thing that really helped my case was getting a guardian ad litem appointed for the kids. Having that neutral third party who could observe the dynamics and report to the court was absolutely crucial. Because when this person saw how my ex would talk about me in front of the kids, or how she'd forget to tell me about school events, it validated everything I'd been saying.
And did you find the judge was receptive to understanding parental alienation? Because I've heard that can be a real challenge.
It was a bit of an uphill battle at first. The judge initially seemed skeptical about the whole concept. But what really turned things around was when the court-appointed psychologist identified specific alienation behaviours. Having that professional validation was game-changing.
Did you have to deal with false allegations as part of the process? That was something that really blindsided me.
Oh man, absolutely. There were these vague allegations of creating an unsafe environment that came out of nowhere. But because I had been documenting everything for so long, I could show the court that these claims only emerged after I filed a motion about her interfering with visitation. The timing was just too convenient,
That pattern is so familiar.
Right? And I think what ultimately swayed the court in my case was showing that despite everything, I never spoke negatively about their mother to the kids. I kept taking the high road even when it was really, really hard. The court eventually saw that maintaining our 50-50th custody was in the kids' best interest.
Do you think the courts are getting better at recognising parental alienation?
I think I think it's slowly improving. There's more research and awareness now, but the system still moves at a glacial pace, and that's something parents need to be prepared for. Ryan, your situation sounds so much more complex and frankly more severe than mine was, but the principles of documentation, getting the right specialised help, and maintaining your integrity throughout the process, those are universal.
You know, one of the most heartbreaking aspects of this whole experience has been watching the changes in my children over time, my son especially. He was this energetic, cape-wearing little boy with such traditional boy energy, if that makes sense. Always running around, climbing things, you know. And over the years, I've seen such a significant transformation in his personality and how he expresses himself. It's been, dramatic.
And you've mentioned your daughter has also gone through some significant changes as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. My daughter has she's begun taking testosterone as part of gender-affirming care, and I want to be really clear about something here. I absolutely support my children's authentic journeys. That's not even a question for me. I want them to be who they truly are.
But I'm sensing there's something about the timing or circumstances that concerns you.
Exactly that. It's the context that keeps me up at night. These profound changes have happened in an environment where I believe my relationship with them has been systematically undermined. And it's really hard to separate what might be their authentic self-discovery from what might be influenced by the alienation. You know what I mean?
Have you noticed these changes coinciding with specific events in the alienation process?
That's actually a really good question. The home environment they live in now is just so dramatically different from what we had established during our marriage. Their step-parent has introduced completely different values and lifestyle choices. And again, families evolve and change. That's natural. But when it's combined with all these active alienation tactics we've been discussing, it creates this perfect storm for parental estrangement.
It must be incredibly difficult to navigate supporting their identity development while also questioning the influences at play.
It really is. On one hand, I want to affirm who they are and who they're becoming, but on the other hand, I can't help but wonder if they're being subtly pushed in certain directions. And the really painful thing is that I'm not allowed to be part of those conversations. I'm not included in therapy appointments or major decisions. I'm just expected to accept everything without question.
That exclusion from the decision-making process is something I face too. It's maddening.
Absolutely maddening. And what makes it even harder is that I feel like if I express any concerns at all, it'll be twisted and used as evidence that I'm not supportive. So I'm in this impossible position where showing any hesitation about the context, not even about their identities themselves, gets framed as rejection. And that just pushes them further away.
That sounds like such a delicate tightrope to walk.
It is. And you know what's really heartbreaking? When I do get those rare moments with my children, I can still see glimpses of who they were. These little flashes of their core personalities that I recognize. And it reminds me that underneath all of this, they're still my kids. They've just been caught in this terrible situation that no child should have to navigate.
Ryan, this situation sounds incredibly complex. How do you actually manage to balance supporting your children's identities while still having these very legitimate concerns about parental alienation? In practical terms, what does that look like for you?
Well, it's probably the hardest balancing act I've ever had to do, if I'm being honest. I try to focus on creating a safe space where they know that I love them unconditionally, regardless of, how they identify or express themselves. But at the same time, I'm careful not to immediately affirm everything without any discussion, because that doesn't feel authentic either.
And do you find yourself second-guessing your own reactions sometimes? Wondering if you're responding to the alienation rather than to your children?
God, all the time. That's exactly it. There are moments when I catch myself wondering, am I questioning this because I genuinely have concerns, or am I just feeling defensive because I've been pushed out? and then I spiral into this whole internal debate about whether I'm actually being the problem. It's mentally exhausting.
I've been there, man. It's like you're constantly policing your own thoughts, trying to figure out what's a reasonable parental concern versus what might be your own reaction to the alienation.
Exactly. And the truth is, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I genuinely can't tell where the line is. But I've found that the most important thing is just to be present, to keep showing up even when it's hard, to let them know that my door is always open for conversation, for questions, for anything, really.
Have you found any particular approaches or, specific phrases that help when you're trying to navigate these conversations with your children?
I've learned to ask a lot of open-ended questions. You know, things like, what does this mean to you? Or how long have you been feeling this way? Rather than immediately jumping to conclusions or expressing my concerns right off the bat. I try to understand their perspective first, even if I suspect there's external influence at play.
That sounds really wise, actually.
Well, I don't know about wise, it's more like trial and error, you know? I've made plenty of mistakes, said the wrong thing, reacted too strongly, but I'm learning, and I think what helps is reminding myself that my children are intelligent individuals with their own minds. They might be influenced, sure, but they're not just empty vessels being filled with someone else's ideas.
That's an important point. I found with my kids that respecting their agency, even while questioning the context, was crucial to maintaining our relationship.
Absolutely. And you know what's really challenging? The developmental piece of all this. Like, teenagers are supposed to be figuring out who they are. That's normal. They're supposed to be trying on different identities and pushing boundaries. So how do you distinguish between normal teenage exploration and something that might be encouraged in an unhealthy way? That's the million-dollar question.
Do you have any thoughts on how to tell the difference?
I think consistency is one marker. If the changes seem to come out of nowhere and don't align with anything you've observed in your child before, that might be a red flag. But even that's not foolproof because kids don't always share everything they're thinking and feeling with their parents. So in the end, I try to stay curious rather than judgmental, and I document everything, not to build a case, but just to preserve reality as I see it.
That makes so much sense. And it's clear you're really trying to put your children first through all of this.
You know, when we talk about parental alienation, we're not just talking about individual family dramas playing out in isolation. This is actually, it's reflecting these much deeper tensions in society about how we view families, about gender roles, about who should have power in parent-child relationships. It's complicated stuff.
I've been thinking about that too, how much this seems to connect to larger cultural battles we're having. Do you think there's something about our current moment that's making parental alienation more common? Or are we just more aware of it now?
That's a really good question. I think it's probably both, right? We have more awareness now, but we also have these shifting family structures that create more opportunities for conflict. The nuclear family isn't necessarily the default anymore, and while that can be really positive in many ways, it also means we're navigating new territories without clear roadmaps.
Something I've noticed in my experience with the courts is how unprepared the legal system seems to be for dealing with the psychological complexity of these cases. Judges are making decisions based on legal frameworks that don't necessarily account for the subtle ways alienation can happen.
Absolutely. And the research is really clear on this point. Children benefit immensely from having healthy relationships with both parents after divorce. There was this meta-analysis I read that looked at something like 60 different studies. And it consistently showed that kids with involved fathers and mothers had better outcomes across the board. Academically, emotionally, even physically.
But that assumes both parents are, fit parents, right? I mean, there must be situations where limiting contact with one parent is actually the right call.
Oh, for sure. If there's actual abuse or neglect happening, that's a completely different situation. The problem is that alienation often masquerades as protection, An alienating parent will say they're protecting the child from the other parent's harmful influence, when in reality the only harm is the alienation itself.
That's really insidious. How does that kind of manipulation affect children psychologically? Like, what are we seeing in terms of long-term effects?
The research on this is pretty devastating, to be honest. Kids who experience severe parental alienation often develop what psychologists call splitting, where they see one parent as all good and the other as all bad. And that black and white thinking doesn't just stay contained to their view of their parents. It affects how they approach all relationships.
I've seen that with friends who grew up in that environment. They struggle with trust issues well into adulthood, and they often repeat the pattern in their own relationships, either becoming alienators themselves or choosing partners who alienate them.
Exactly, and there's this guilt that eventually comes up for many alienated children when they get older and realize what happened. They have to reconcile with the fact that they participated in rejecting a parent who actually loved them. That's a heavy burden for anyone to carry.
God, that's heartbreaking. And I imagine it affects their sense of identity too. Like if half of who you are comes from someone you've been taught to reject.
You hit the nail on the head there. It creates this profound internal conflict because deep down, children know they are a product of both parents. So when they're forced to reject one parent, they're in some ways rejecting a part of themselves. And that self-rejection can lead to all kinds of issues: depression, anxiety, substance abuse.
What frustrates me is how preventable this all is. Like, with proper education for family court professionals, with better co-parenting resources after divorce, we could spare so many kids this trauma.
Absolutely. And that's honestly why I wrote my book and why I'm talking about this so openly. Because we need to bring this issue out of the shadows. It's not just about my personal story, it's about creating awareness of a problem that's affecting countless families across different backgrounds and belief systems.
So, I think it might be helpful if I share some of the specific strategies that actually worked for me when I was fighting my own custody battle. Because, there are practical things you can do when you're facing alienation attempts.
Yeah, that would be incredibly valuable. I mean, what worked for you in terms of documentation? That's something I've really struggled with.
Documentation was absolutely critical in my case. I started keeping what I called my reality journal. Basically, a detailed record of every interaction, every conversation, every visit with my kids. And not just, what happened, but also context, tone, who said what, everything.
Did you use a special app or something for that? Or was it just pen and paper?
Both, actually. I had a physical notebook for quick notes, but I also there's this co-parenting app called Our Family Wizard that timestamps everything and can't be altered later. The court actually really respected that evidence because it couldn't be manipulated. You know what I mean?
That's really smart. I wish I had done more of that systematic documentation early on.
Another huge thing, and this was hard, I committed to never ever speaking negatively about my ex in front of the kids. Even when she was saying awful things about me, even when I was so angry, I could barely function. And that paid off because eventually my kids noticed the difference.
That must have been really difficult to maintain though, right? Like in those moments when you know someone's been lying about you.
God, yes. It was probably the hardest part, to be honest. But I found that focusing on being consistent and reliable was more important than defending myself. Kids are smart. They notice patterns. They see who shows up no matter what.
What about legal tactics? Anything specific that helped you there?
I got a really good attorney who specifically had experience with parental alienation cases. That was crucial. And we requested a custody evaluation with a psychologist who understood the dynamics of alienation. That evaluation was expensive, really expensive, but it completely changed the trajectory of my case.
And how did you handle communication with your ex during all this? That seems like it would be so difficult.
I went completely grey rock. Do you know that technique? It's where you make yourself as boring and non-reactive as possible. No emotional responses, no arguments, just factual, brief communication about the kids. It was actually my therapist who suggested it, and it took away my ex's ability to provoke me into reactions she could use against me.
I've tried something similar, but it's hard to maintain sometimes.
Oh, totally. And look, I still slipped up sometimes. But the other thing I did was build a really solid support network. Friends who understood what I was going through. A good therapist and a support group specifically for targeted parents. Having places to vent meant I wasn't bringing that energy into my limited time with my kids.
What about during the actual court proceedings? Any specific approaches that worked there?
Yes, I focused on the children's best interests rather than attacking my ex. Like, instead of saying she's alienating the kids, I'd frame it as the children benefit from having both parents actively involved in their lives. And here's the evidence they're struggling with the current arrangement. Judges respond so much better to that child-centered approach.
That's really good advice. I think I've sometimes fallen into the trap of just trying to prove I was wronged rather than focusing on what's best for the kids.
Exactly. And the final thing, patience. This was a marathon, not a sprint. The court case took almost 2 years, and there were so many moments where I wanted to just give up. But consistent, steady presence eventually made the difference.
You know, we've been talking about strategies and documentation, but the emotional toll of all this has been, well, it's been absolutely devastating at times. There were periods where I was just completely consumed by depression. I mean, having your own children turn against you. It's like nothing else I've ever experienced.
God, I can't even imagine what that feels like. Did you have support during those times?
Not enough, to be honest. And there were some really dark moments where I actually had suicidal thoughts. It's hard to admit that, but when you feel like you've lost your children, like you failed at the most important job in your life, those thoughts can creep in.
That's absolutely heartbreaking, Ryan. How did you get through those moments?
Well, it's going to sound strange, but I kept going for one simple reason. My kids might need me someday. Even if they didn't want me around right then, I couldn't. I couldn't bear the thought of them someday reaching out and me not being there. That was my anchor, you know what I mean?
Man, I've been there too. Not exactly the same, but those feelings of worthlessness, of